Hello, YouTube land. This is Brenton Sawn coming to you from Lexington, Kentucky, the Bluegrass State. We have a dog man story today that's really good. You're all going to really like this one. So, anyway, I got an email from this fellow maybe a week ago, something like that, and he sent me pictures of these rocks, and we've been talking about his story for the whole week, basically, and I was trying to get the other computer set up, and he's going to be the first one being processed on the new computer. So this is going to be really exciting. I've been really waiting for another good dogman story, and we sure do have it today. This guy's name is Joey from Pennsylvania, and I'm just going to let him tell the story, and I promise you this is going to be really good and a very exciting kind of story. So anyway, how you doing today, Joey?
Pretty good. How you doing, Brenton?
I'm doing wonderful, man. I really appreciate you working with me until I got the computer set up, and I'm sure everybody's going to be glad to have two computers going so I can get out some more stuff, because these stories are fun to listen to and informative, and well, anyway, you have a very fascinating story. If you want to, why don't you tell the audience where you live and kind of lead us up to what the land and everything was like where you had this encounter, and then we'll go into your encounter. Introduce yourself.
Sure. Yeah, I'm originally from Ohio, Cleveland area, and I'm 33 years old, married, and yeah, my dad grew up on the farm, and he wanted us to experience it. So my grandmother had bought property in Pennsylvania, and they put a trailer in, double-wide trailer, and we would go down there as kids, and they wanted us to experience the outdoors. My dad grew up with guns, and I shot my first gun when I was 8 years old, 12-gauge shotgun, and he wanted us to experience that. So after my grandma had gotten the property a few years later, my dad got one down the dirt road, and the property when we first got it, it was really bad. We had the bulldozers come in and clear out everything, and they put in a double-wide trailer, and our backyard's really big. We have a creek going through the property. My dad installed a shed and a light pole, a cast light across the yard because it gets really dark, and you can't really see anything, and the well and everything, and this happened when I was 8 or 9 years old when we first started going down there. And when I was 12 years old, my dad, we were going down there for the summer, and cut the grass, open up the trailer and everything, and we went down there and cut the grass, weed whacked, cleaned the trailer, and the day went by really quick, nothing happened, and that night we had a fire. We always have a fire, and it's right by the creek, and my dad said he was gonna go down the dirt road to his buddy Bill's and have a beer with him, and the reason I couldn't go was because I guess my buddy Bill, he was a sniper, or my dad's buddy Bill was a sniper in the Vietnam War or something, and he had some old videos that he wanted to share with my dad. My dad said that they were inappropriate for me for that at that age, so he wanted me to stay at the trailer, and I said that's fine. Plus I was young too, so I was getting close to bedtime, so I'm going to say around 11 p.m., 11:30, he said he was leaving, and told me to lock the door. He told me where his shotgun was, and he told me if anyone came into that house other than him, then shoot him. And I said, yes, sir, love you, and off he went. I locked the door, and chain locked it, and I sat down in a recliner chair next to the window, and I was watching TV, and I want to say around midnight, I was sitting there, and all of a sudden, it was like, I felt like I was being watched, and I felt sick to my stomach, my hair was standing up, and something was wrong, and I'd never felt like this before while I was down there, and as I turned to the left to look out the window, there was a large gray face with red, yellowish eyes, backing away from the window as I was turning towards it. And I fell off the chair backwards. I couldn't breathe. I felt like someone hit me in the chest. My air was knocked out of me. And I fell on the floor, and I got up, and as I ran down the hallway, I remember my legs were like jello. I was shaking really bad, and I got back to the shotgun, and I grabbed it. It was already loaded. I came back out, and I stood there for a second peeking out the window, and I couldn't believe what I just saw. And I had so many things going through my mind. I thought it was my dad playing a trick on me, and I'm like, no, my dad doesn't do that. And I turned off the lights because I remember, all the nights that my mom was down there and we'd do deer watching, my mom would always turn off the lights so we could see outside easier, so I did that. And I couldn't see anything. Well, I'm going to say about 5 seconds after I turned off the light and I'm looking, the screen door to the front door of the trailer opens, and I'm like, oh, it's my dad, Kind of felt a sigh of relief, and I'm waiting for the door to open, and nothing's happening. And then all of a sudden, the handle turned back and forth in this creepy demeanor, and the door started shaking back and forth really, really hard. I mean, it was the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. The floor of the trailer was shaking. There was no growl or scream coming, But, I couldn't believe it. And I yelled out I had a gun, and I would shoot, and it stopped. And let's say 10 seconds after I said this, and I'm waiting, the back door behind me down the hallway from where I was standing started doing the same thing. At that point, I couldn't believe this was happening, and my dad had actually bolted the back door shut because there was no steps behind there. And if you opened that door and walked out, yeah, you were going to break your legs or something. So he was actually planning on sealing that door. So I kind of felt that it wasn't going to be able to get into that door. I couldn't believe it didn't get into the front door. And I'm part Blackfoot Indian. My great-grandfather was 100% Blackfoot Indian, and he always had, I remember growing up, my mom telling me that he always had, a sixth sense ability. He could tell what you were thinking, and he would really scare the hell out of you. He would tell you what you were thinking. I remember there was a story I heard growing up. My dad was looking for batteries or something, and my grandpa came up and just gave it to him, and he couldn't believe it. He didn't say anything to my grandpa. But my mom inherited this ability, and she used to mess with us growing up. And, as I grew up, I started to realize I had it too. But for me, when I'm around danger or something bad's about to happen, my hair stands up, and this feeling occurs that I can't really explain. And I've adjusted to it over the years. But as I was standing there, getting back to my story, as I was standing there, my hair had stand up. We were standing up already, and, I was shaking and everything, and I was feeling that feeling for the first time pretty much. And I had this voice in my head, and I'll never forget it. My mom says it was my great-grandfather helping me, and it told me to get out of there, that they were there to take me. And I didn't understand it, and I haven't heard that voice ever since. And I manned up, and I ran to the front door, and I stood there for a minute, and I opened the door, and I aimed, and nothing was there. The screen was swinging back and forth. And I ran down the wooden steps and hit the grass running, and I remember I'm running along the trailer, and I got to the end of the trailer, and as soon as I hit the gravel driveway, the noise from the back door had stopped as soon as I hit the gravel driveway, and I'm thinking it hurt me. And then it sounded like a bulldozer was going through the woods next to the driveway, like a little ways behind me. And I'm running, and I remember it sounded like it was coming up on me. It sounded almost as if the noises were getting too close to me, and I turned and I fired the shotgun. And I remember it was split second, but I was always a good aim growing up, and my dad used to point that out. And I believe I hit it because it let out a scream growl that went through my whole body, and I almost fell over and pissed myself. And at that point, I ran, I hit the dirt road, and I'm screaming for my dad, running down the dirt road, and this thing's running next to me in the woods. It didn't come out. And I finally got to Bill's driveway, and I remember as soon as I hit the driveway, his hunting dogs were running down, and it stopped. I heard it stop, and I think the dogs kept it there, and I ran up the driveway screaming for my dad. The windows were open. The screen door to the Bill's trailer was open, and I'm wondering why my dad hasn't come out yet. And I went inside, and I found my dad and Bill in the back bedroom drunk, and, you know, they'd been drinking heavily. And I tried waking my dad up, and, you know, he wouldn't budge, and he kept mumbling stuff. Bill was snoring. He didn't even move. So I ended up actually sitting on the deck on some type of metal swing with the dogs with the shotgun, and I figured, you know, I got to protect my dad. I got to protect Bill. You know, if I go inside, this thing could try to come inside. If I go to sleep, it could try to take me. And I sat on the front porch with the shotgun with the dogs, and once during the middle of the night, the dogs got up and walked over to the steps and were growling across the yard at the woods. And I didn't see anything. But yeah, my dad ended up waking up, and I'm going to say it was around 6:37 in the morning. Came outside, and he found me sitting there, and he called my name 3 or 4 times, and I was still in shock. And, you know, I ran and gave him a hug, and he was screaming, "Why do you have my shotgun? What the hell is going on?" And I tried explaining to him what happened, but he didn't believe me. So we ended up getting back to the trailer, and he's, you know, yelling and screaming as we're walking. And he said we were going home now because I ruined the weekend, because, you know, he you know, growing up, he taught us about guns, and he didn't believe that I had taken a shotgun out like that, and saying, you know, if someone saw me, the police could have came. We got back to the trailer, and I walked around it because I'm like, you know, was I hallucinating, you know? And I found 19-inch tracks that were outside the window I was sitting by. And in order to look through that window, you had to be 7 feet tall or on a ladder. And they went into the woods and disappeared, and my dad saw that, and he was speechless. He wanted to call the police, and my dad's buddy Bill had said, "No, don't do that. They're just going to make fun of you." And my dad told me never to tell my mom. My mom never went into those woods. She refused to, and, you know, I understood why then. Yeah, that was pretty much my encounter. The other thing was, I remember I saw it when I turned and fired, and saw it in the moonlight in the woods. And it was like a tower over me. I couldn't believe how big it was, and the arms were very long. I'm going to say it was a good 8 feet tall. And the way it was like I was watching a horror movie in front of me when it was happening. The way this thing was moving through the woods was just crazy. And, you know, my dad had actually went into the woods and found branches that were broken, that were huge. And, you know, more to back up my story, and he said he couldn't explain that at all, and they had just been snapped. But yeah, that's pretty much my story.
So when you got a look at it, when it came into a little bit of a clearing, and the moonlight hit it, you're saying how tall do you think it was?
Oh, it was huge. It was at least 8 or 9 feet tall all day, and the shoulders. I mean, it was like, I don't even know. It was like, it was something right out of a horror movie. The arms were really long. I couldn't really see the fingers. I could just see the arms and the outline and everything. It looked like the upper body was wider than the bottom. The legs were very, very long. I couldn't make out whether they were hind legs like a dog.
Right.
The head was humongous. I could see the head, and I could see the eyes glimmering off of the moonlight and everything. And, you know, like that growl, I'll never forget it. The only thing I could compare that growl to was as if you were standing in front of a lion and it had growled, because that growl went right through my whole body physically. And like I said, I almost wet myself because I was so scared.
Now, when did you see the head? Did it look like a canine head? Did you see ears? Anything like that?
Yeah, it had very pointy ears. I remember that. When I saw it, when I looked through the window, it had a snout. closed. They had very big lips. They were black. Most of the face was gray. It had wrinkles under its eyes and everything going down to the mouth. And I believe the reason its eyes were glowing red and yellow was because the light, my mom's old antique light that was sitting by the window, was casting out the window. So I'm wondering if, it caused its eyes to look a little bit different. But yeah, I could have called it a werewolf, pretty much.
Yeah. Now the type of snout that it had, did it have the snout that was Doberman-like or baboon-like, or can you kind of?
It was kind of like a deer. The way the snout had come down, like a German Shepherd almost. But like I said, I never caught any glimpse of the teeth. Thank God, because that would have probably even terrified me even more. But yeah, it had a snout just like a German Shepherd. That's the only thing I could really compare it to.
Okay, and then in the ears, were they pointy toward the top, or kind of sticking out to the side, or?
Kind of just like a German Shepherd's ears when they stand up right straight.
Okay. And then you said it had a yellowish red glow in the eyes?
Yeah. Yep.
I'm beginning to wonder sometimes if their eyes actually. I have someone sent a video, and I said, man, that video is someone with a flashlight, and he was saying, no, this was a creature, and his eyes was emitting light. And I didn't really know what to think about it. I still got the video, and I kind of blew it off because I didn't really know what to think about that, And you got to sell the stuff to the audience, if you're gonna show something like that. But there's two different videos of this, and it looks kind of like flashlights, But then I heard a guy tell a story, and he said there was a Bigfoot. Now this wasn't a dog man. A Bigfoot that was approaching him, and the eye color was white, and it looked like he thought it was flashlights at first, or like a flashlight or something, and it was like emitting light. There was light coming from it, and as it came toward him, they were there to do some squatching, and the friend that was with him let out a little hoot or a call of some kind, and going to try to communicate with the thing. And when he did that, the eye shine went from a whitish yellow or something like that to a red. Instantly, it turned red. And I thought, man, that's pretty bizarre, But that was it made me think about that footage. Now I don't know what to think about that, so I'm kind of looking into it a little bit more, and I might try to analyze that footage some more, I guess, since that.
Another thing, a couple years ago, I had ended up speaking to a psychic medium. She's a Native American spiritual guide, lives on a reservation. Really didn't give me too much information. She said she doesn't want to go public about anything, but she said that she really needed to talk to me, and she was my buddy's girlfriend's mother, and she ended up taking the phone from him one day. And she said that she was sorry, but she needed to tell me something. And she actually relived the encounter with me word for word. I never told him or her the story. And she told me that they were there to take me for reproductive purposes. And she said there was 3 of them. And I didn't see the other 2. And I'm thinking to myself when she told me this, when I shot the one, I don't understand why the other 2 didn't jump out and tackle me. If there was 3 of them, they should have, effortlessly taken me. And I thought that was really strange, but she said that these creatures have been here since the beginning. She told me that, and this is going to sound crazy, she said that they're the missing link between ape and man, the government doesn't want us to know about it. She went on to tell me that the government is releasing a gas by plane over areas which is making these creatures unable to reproduce, and that is why they are taking our children and kidnapping women. She said that they can sense a pheromone in women that lets them know that they're capable of mating with that woman. And the case, like I was telling you, that I was researching with Hillary Sharma. She went on to tell me everything that happened with this woman, and I couldn't believe it. She said this woman's case was covered up by the government. She said that the creature that this woman had, that scent, that pheromone, the creature attempted to mate with her, and of course, due to the physical trauma, died and bled out. She said the creature panicked, as it always does, because this isn't the first time this has happened, and it ripped up the body and threw it in the river. There was a lot of, information that I gathered during this case that didn't make any sense at all, and it didn't back up anything the news was saying about it. She even went on to say that at Columbia Run Picnic Area at Cuyahoga Valley National Park, that there are other bodies buried there, and that we'll never find them because they've hidden them. And I think that's kind of strange, because there's been multiple times that I've been there that I have caught a whiff of something dying, like decaying or something, and I couldn't figure it out, and I'd walk all over and not smell it again. So, there's all these little bits of information and stuff that she told me that were just completely puzzling, and but yeah, that was the other part of the story.
Well, if she was, I don't know if I would believe a psychic medium anyway, but if there was some type of missing link, it wouldn't be the dog man. Maybe if you were saying it was Bigfoot or something, but maybe she was saying that the dog man was there to steal you for the Bigfoot, or what I'm saying, a canine, a canine creature sure doesn't seem like a missing link. A Sasquatch, if you weren't, if you weren't a Christian or something, you could maybe go there with a theory like that. But that's anyway. It's interesting. I'm not saying it's not interesting, but very interesting. Now, when it comes to the footprints you saw, you said they were how long?
They were at least 19 inches. You could actually see, because the ground was wet. I never seen anything like it, Brenton. It was. I remember my dad standing there. He didn't speak for a while. He could not believe what he was looking at. They were human-like, but the ends where the toes were, you could tell that there was long nails of some kind. Like they were very long. They weren't like a giant dog, like a German Shepherd's feet, which was really puzzling and still doesn't make sense till this day.
Okay.
But then again, I've heard that there's different types of dog man and Bigfoot. I've heard stories that a Bigfoot tried to mate with a wolf, and that's what created this dog man, and or some type of natural hybrid occurrence or some kind like that. So I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But they were not like a canine foot at all.
Okay. Well, there's a kind that has so the type you encountered then would have had the humanoid type legs, which would be the type 3 dog man.
Yep.
That has the almost a Squatch like, except it has the canine face.
Yep.
Okay. So it wouldn't have had like the hocks, like the dog, the bent leg on it.
No, and it didn't look the way it was moving through the woods. It looked more human than anything. Because I could make out from the head down to like the lower knee area, and it wasn't the legs were completely bending like humans when it was moving through the woods next to me.
Okay. Well, I could see that being a, those kind, seem to be pretty aggressive too, and I think Kurt Stokes might have encountered that particular type. They tend to do a lot of the tree breaking type stuff, like a bulldozer going through the woods. When he encountered his, the one he encountered was like 12 foot tall. Man, it was huge.
Oh God!
Yeah, no, he shined.
I'm guessing it was 8 feet tall. I mean, I was 12 years old, and I'm going to say it was probably about 60, 70 feet away from me to the right. And, I mean, it could have been taller, you know what I mean? And, growing up, I tried to forget about it and, tell myself, my dad told me to never tell anybody and to just forget about it, and, that's the other thing, when I spoke to that medium, I don't believe psychics are real or any of that stuff either, but I'm telling you, Brenton, she said, you're going to sit there and you're going to listen to me, and she sat there and she told me for a half hour straight things about my life that there's no way in hell she could have known. Well, I'm telling you that right now, and that's the other thing. My wife was, she looked like her face was white as paper. She's like she saw a ghost when she listened to this woman talk, and that's what kind of made me listen to her more than anything.
Right. Yeah. Well, let me tell you first of all, psychic mediums aren't fake. Okay, they are psychic mediums. The medium part means that they communicate with the spirit realm. So it's very, very plausible that she did have information that ties to these dog men that she could have given you, and actually could be accurate. I'm saying I wouldn't trust what a psychic medium is telling me about it because she's communicating with the wrong side. You know what I'm saying? Because it's forbidden in the scriptures to communicate with the spirit realm in that type of way to gain information, unless it's communicating on the with God. You know what I'm saying? The psychic medium is not. They're doing the things that they practice would be forbidden by God. So I couldn't trust it.
Is there a difference now? A Native American spiritual guide. And she says that, that's what her title is, but a lot of people call her a psychic or a medium. But is there a difference? Have you heard of Native American spiritual guides before?
Yeah. But what I'm saying to you is, if you read in the scriptures in Deuteronomy 18, starting at like verse 10, you would see some things that are forbidden there, and any type of communicating with, because they're, unless you're, this starts to get into religion. I think we could maybe talk more about that privately, so we don't get into debates in the comments and what have you. But I'm saying I don't want to turn your story into that type of thing, but you can look in the scriptures at any type of spiritual activity that's outside of. I cover these mysteries from a biblical worldview, so it's from the side of Christianity, and I just know that there's some people that can do that kind of thing, and they could give you information that is real, that had been given to them. It's just that I don't know if I would trust the information fully, because you don't know who gave it to them. You know what I'm saying? What gave it to them and things like that. So it can be deceptive sometimes, and not saying that it's not real. And they could certainly tell you. See, that's the thing, that the psychic medium people sometimes get people to believe. It's like, oh, they told me something that no one could have known. Well, a familiar spirit would have known that. They could have said something, you put your keys in your top drawer of your dresser this morning. Oh my gosh, no one could have known that. Well, that spirit that was behind you, looking in the window or whatever, it would have known that, and it can communicate. Right. That's why they're mediums. They're intercessors between. Same as when it comes to Christianity, we have the Holy Spirit that is an intermediary between us and God. And, and we pray, in Christ's name and what have you. So they're sometimes are real, and they are communicating with spirits. It's just that that usually comes with some type of deceptive something somewhere down the line. It could be 90% truth, and then a little bit of something that would be leading you astray, somehow or another. And like I said, we can talk more about that, privately if you want to.
Roy, one thing I wanted to add really quick was something else she had told me, which I'm guessing is what led to all this happening, was when I was 9 or 10 years old and playing in those woods, I was standing right next to one. She had went on to tell me that when me and my cousin Keith were in the woods playing when I was 9 or 10 years old, that I was actually standing by one. And she said it reached out and touched me and marked me. I never saw anything, but there was a few times. We would ride mini bikes through the paths in the woods and everything, and it was real creepy back there. And there was a couple times I never saw anything, but my cousin Keith said he saw something really big moving, and he told my uncle about it, and my uncle's like, "Oh, it's probably that bear." Yeah, she said I was standing right by it, and that's kind of crazy to think that you can't even, your human sense can't even tell that they're next to you. And yeah, she said it reached out and it marked me, and that's why they came for me.
Wow. That almost sounds spiritual, to mark someone like that, Doesn't it to you?
Right.
Yeah. Wow. Interesting. So I said that's interesting for sure. Now you had sent some pictures with these rocks that were stacked up, and can you kind of tell a little bit about that?
Mm-hmm.
A few different sites that you were talking about.
I want to say about last week. Gotcha. Yeah, I'm going to say around last week. My brother texted me around 2:30 in the morning, and he said, "You're not going to believe what we found, him and his fiance." And I said, "What?" He said, through Brecksville, and there was a road there that was closed for the last few years. I guess they were doing some work on it, and he said he never had been on it before. And he said they went driving, and when they hit the corner, there was all these little rocks stacked everywhere. And he said he just put it in park and sat there with the lights on. He couldn't believe what he was looking at. He said the first time he went, he said he wasn't getting out of the car. And his fiance said, "No, don't get out of the car. This is crazy." And I never seen anything like it. The way they were stacked, they don't look right. So he sent me the pictures, and you could zoom in on them and look at them, and it's just crazy the way that they're stacked on top of each other. That's like they're defying gravity. But he ended up going back there the next night and went with a few more people, and he got out of the car and took some pictures of it. And it's in Brecksville, Ohio, and it's by a creek. It's Brecksville Park's pretty big. There's caves, there's cliffs to climb and everything. It's a very rural area. But yeah, he said he felt like they both said they felt like they were being watched when they were there. And he said he walked up to the one rock structure, and he went to go touch it and just put his hand on it. It fell over. And that completely blew my mind because, how did the elements not knock these things over? And I had went online and did some research. People do this. They stack rocks like that. They do that. But the problem is where this is located. There's like no house. There's people that live there, but it's more in the park area. So either someone went out there during the day and sat there for hours and hours trying to get these rocks to stand up like that. But it's right by a creek, and it just so happens that a lot of stuff in Brecksville, Ohio is haunted. Like, there's a lot of different haunted locations there. And you can actually go on Google and type in haunted Ohio, and you'll see there's like, I think 10 different places in Brecksville that are haunted. And the rocks, where these rocks were, is right by one of these haunted places. So I kind of, it's a little creepy coincidence there. But we haven't been back out there since. I've been meaning to get out there and look at them myself. But yeah, he said they're right next to a creek, and it's kind of, in the one picture, I know it might be coincidental and kind of funny. I was showing my wife. I'll have to resend it to you, and you're going to have to save it onto your gallery on your phone before you view it. If you click on the picture on Hangouts and try to actually zoom in and look at it, you're not going to see it. But if you save it to your gallery and zoom in on this little star in the sky, it's a perfect shaped cross. The actual light is actually making a cross, and my brother said that gave him chills when he actually saw that.
Right. Wow. Yeah, you said that there was another location that you were seeing this too, because that sometimes is a Squatch, like a Sasquatch thing, and sometimes people will even stack rocks up, and then when they have the habituation type stuff with these Sasquatch, and they'll come back, and the Sasquatch would have, the Bigfoot or whatever stacked up some rocks differently or reordered them or something like that. But I mean, maybe it's something paranormal, or maybe it's humans.
Yeah,
I don't know, but it was strange looking.
The other one was at Cuyahoga Valley National Park at that one area, and it was at least 8 feet tall, and it looked like, I mean, I have pictures of it. I'll have to send it to you. I'll have to get it from my wife. I could definitely do that tonight, because I believe they're on her phone. But this thing was 7, 8 feet tall, and it looked like architects built it or something. I've never seen anything like it. All the size of the rocks lined up perfectly, and it was right on the side of a creek. And that's that same area I was telling you that those 2 women had gone missing and were found. But we actually followed the creek back a little bit further and found a couple more of them. The last time I actually went there, that they were knocked over. So I don't know if somebody knocked them over or what happened, but they were all knocked over into the side of the creek.
Huh. Wow. It almost makes you wonder if there's some type of marker or something like that for the Bigfoot activity, right, or something, or who knows.
And I looked online, and no one else has spotted them or pointed them out.
Right. Wow. So when it comes to the Dogman or the Bigfoot activity up at that property, do you all still own that property?
Yes, yeah, my dad does.
Does he still go up there? Has there been any more reports of anything or any strangeness?
Just other than the weird noises at night that you hear. Like I said, when we were kids growing up, we'd all wake up in the middle of the night, and we would hear this screaming from the woods, and we'd all go running to the window, because it happened quite frequently. And we'd open the window, and the screen was there, and we'd listen. And I went online and tried to listen to coyote sounds and this and that, but I'd never heard anything compared that could compare to the sounds that we heard. But he still hears those sounds, and they sound more like cries, but the bass that's inside of them, it sounds like it's coming from a very large creature, or animal. There's no bears in that area where we're at, so that's kind of strange, too. My dad had said that when my Uncle Keith said he saw that bear, he said, there's no bears out here in this area. He goes, that's crazy, we should tell somebody. And I think he ended up telling someone about it, and they said, too, there was no bears or whatnot, nothing to come of it. But other than weird sounds, when me and my brother, that's actually another story, had went out there, this was like years ago, I went down there with my brothers to do some cleaning around and everything, and my dad was actually thinking about getting rid of the property. And he said he was weed whacking up by the for the grass by the woods where I wouldn't go back there. And I was standing up front weed whacking, and he got hit with a rock. And he said that it was a large rock, and he didn't think that the weed whacker had done it. And he said he didn't mind it or anything, and kind of laughed and kept going, and he got hit with another one. And he turned around and thought it was me, but from where I was to where he was, there was no way I could have thrown a rock that far. There's just no way. And if I had thrown a rock that far and it had hit him, it would have hurt more, he said, for sure. And he said that was puzzling. And I mean, there was little things here and there about rocks being thrown that I heard from other people in that area, but other than that, that's about it.
No tree structure like bends or stuff like that, or have you ever really looked for those?
It's kind of weird you mentioned that. When we were kids, we used to, carelessly go through those woods, and the property, it goes all the way back to a farmland that's humongous, and then goes across the street to another farmland and keeps turning into woods and, forest-like woods and everything. And we followed the creek back pretty far, and there was a waterfall that dropped down in this area. And we'd never seen this area before. And there was an old house back there that had slate shingles all over the roof, and it was slanted and kind of caved in and everything. And we had heard rumors that there was some type of a hermit living there, and my uncle had saw him and told him to get off the property. And I mean, it's like I vaguely remember that being talked about when we were younger. But yeah, there was actual some like fort-like structures that were back there, and we used to play in them and call it the jungle gym. And that's kind of weird you mentioned that, because I remember seeing them and playing them, and there were a lot of vines that were hanging from the trees that you could actually go run and jump and grab onto and swing back and forth. And they were all hanging all around, and they were trimmed. And I remember that was really strange, that the way they were hanging, it was like, and no one goes back there. I mean, this is like a dense area, and I just always remember that was kind of weird. They were just so accessible to swing from back there. But there was a lot of branches stacked on top of each other against trees, kind of like a teepee-like structure. And we just, as kids, just thought that, maybe it was other kids or, someone else that had built it back then. Never really thought much of it.
Well, see, yeah, I kind of almost think you had some type 3 dogmen or squatch or or something living in that area, and they definitely throw rocks. That's kind of a common thing. And so you had your strange encounter there, man. And and they very well could have been wanting to take you if they were. I mean, if you're wiggling the doorknob and opening the screen door and things like that, that's seemingly trying to come in the house. Now, when this thing wiggled the doorknob and it was shaking the door, was the door locked?
Yeah, the door was chain locked, dead bolted, and the handle was locked. And I guess my dad wasn't going to come back till the morning, and I had an alarm set to get up and everything, but of course I didn't sleep that night, so I guess he kind of figured that I was going to let him in, or he was just going to bang on the door and wake me up. But yeah, it was a reinforced steel door. My dad had he did a lot of stuff: carpentry, air conditioning, heating, air conditioning. He was electrical. A lot of union type jobs. So he had a lot of trades under his belt, and he had done a lot of work onto that trailer and everything. But yeah, the door was definitely reinforced. But yeah, when it was shaking back and forth, the whole trailer was moving. I couldn't believe it. The other thing too, it kind kind of think about this all the time is when I spoke to that lady, that medium, she told me that I'm not even supposed to be here right now. She said that you're not even supposed to be here. She goes, that's why your life is all messed up and this and that, and you can't figure it out. And she goes, you're not supposed to be here. You're supposed to be gone. And I've always thought of that. It's kind of really weird because, I don't know. It's just really weird.
Yeah, well, that's not true. So you don't even believe that for a second. I believe maybe they were going to take you because if they were trying to open the door and they couldn't get in, then they would have been shaking it. So they may have she might be telling you the truth. They maybe were going to come take you, but you can thank God for that, brother. That didn't happen because God spared you that, and you are supposed to be here. Your life's your life is not messed up because you are here. It would have been messed up if you weren't, So, you don't let that get in your head. God blessed you with saving your life from that happening, and it very well could have been that they came to get you, and she could have been conveying that message to you, and they maybe did try to mark you, but you can break that mark. You hear what I'm saying, and we can talk privately about that. We won't get all religious on this thing, but we can make sure that mark gets washed right off. You can believe that, and it sounds like to me that God spared your life, and you got a purpose of some kind that He would have spared your life for. So, but I really thank you for coming in and telling.
My dad said that if I didn't have had that gun, they would have probably taken me.
Yeah, that might have been that, because they darn sure can tear into a house. But I think that locked door probably helped too.
I always thought of
chained and deadlock bolted and having a gun. They might have thought twice. And but it sounded like you were pretty brave, man. You took off and you ran, and the voice that was telling you to run, they're there to take you. You didn't need anybody else telling you. You knew that was God telling you that. A guardian angel or something, so you already knew that they were there to, something doesn't wiggle the door and try to come in without having some kind of reason to come get you, so that's something that you already kind of knew. Well, you have a very, very interesting story, that's for sure, and I appreciate you coming and telling it. Do you have anything else you want to say?
Thanks for having me.
Do you have anything else that you want to tell the audience? Hello?
No, that's about it. Like I said, I hear all these different things about these creatures. They're Nephilim, or they're wherever they came from, they're part of this world and this and that. And all I could say is just, I would never approach one. Try to stay away from them and just be safe. I encourage, I got into Missing 411 and David Politis. I'm sure a lot of people know what that is.
Yeah.
Encourage people to get their CCW and carry a firearm if they can. Something with something that's power behind them, especially if they're going to go and look for this creature. Because I'm telling you, man, you could be gone in a split second.
Yeah, and it seems that there are people that come up missing, and it sure does look like that they are responsible, either the Bigfoot or the dogmen, or I'm sure some cases are people being involved, but it's awfully fishy sometimes, pointing towards the cryptids. So everyone out there in YouTube land, I hope you enjoyed this episode here with Joey. Fascinating story. It sounds like to me that he was sure spared some kind of trauma that was coming his way to try to snag him up and take him off into the woods for nefarious reasons, for sure. So thank God that never happened, and it sounds like to me that God's got another kind of purpose for him, and and he was certainly spared something that could have been very, very ugly. It sure wouldn't have been enjoyable, and it wouldn't have been anything that he probably would want to go through. That's for sure. But thank you for watching. If anyone out there has a story that they want to share, you can contact me at brentonson@gmail.com, and you can share your story of any kind of cryptid or supernatural or any kind of story that you think would be interesting for a show. You just let me know it. brentonson@gmail.com. God bless, and I'll see you all on the next video. Bye-bye.